A few weeks ago I watched Midsommar, and yes, I watched it after 7 years maybe. But in the movie I've seen an interesting point that I would like to share with you. Before we start, do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Let's approach Midsommar. Dani is a college student who has quite toxic relationship with a guy who named Christian. But she was doing well till her sister kills her family and herself with gas. After this incident, Dani doesn't know what to do, but he goes on holiday. Christian's Swedish friend, Pelle, invites him and his friends, Mark and Josh, to a cultural festival, I don't know. This festival takes place only once in each 90 years. That's the thing that makes this story more interesting, actually, for us. But now let's talk about the characters in the movie. This part may include some spoilers, so be careful about it. All the characters in the movie transforms into a different character in the end of the movie, which we see most of the movies. When we look at Dani, she seems like a nice person. She is in a sad situation and she needs some help. Or we see her like this, because if she doesn't be nice, if she be aggressive toward people around herself, she may lose only person around her who is Christian. So she's looking for a family, a place where she can feel safe. But Christian cannot give this feeling to her because he wants to break up.
What if I regret it later and I can't get her back?
You don't want her back.
I might.
Okay, well then you can bitch to us about how much you regret it for that day, and then we'll remind you again that you've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
On the other hand, Josh basically tries to write his paper, academic paper, and Mark is just trying to find some fun, some girls, you know. So when they arrive to this cultic place, they find themselves in a different situation. As an audience, we see something is off, and I believe they also see that. Everything seems so peaceful, so nice, but you can understand something is off. Normally in horror movies, most of the horror movies, darkness is essential, but the thing that makes Midsommar special is that in Midsommar there is almost no darkness. In this perspective, it's a unique film. So at this point, we see the first cultural problem. When they arrive, they don't feel, they can understand that they are not belong to there. So Harga people have a different clothes, a different lifestyle. What they eat, what they smoke is totally different than the other people. So our main characters have some issues to integrate with these new things. As we know, all countries has its own rules, even tribe, they have their own rules. So in Harga, there are also rules that you should obey. But what happens? Josh and Mark doesn't obey these rules. Josh tries to steal the holy book of Harga people. On the other hand, Mark pees on a memorial tree. So they were criminals and they got punished. But the problem is the punishment was death. So they did something really bad, but the question is, should the punishment be death? Some scholars look at this movie through racial research, but I would prefer to look into this through cultural perspective. So my question is, can we judge these people because they are living their culture? Can we judge them because they have their own lifestyle, their rules? So for this question, we can easily say yes, because they live in Sweden, and killing someone in Sweden is illegal. So we have a concrete answer for this. Or I don't know if you have another answer for this question, you can just write a comment. However, when we watch this scene where elders sacrifice themselves for the cult, we may have some difficulties to answer this question. So when we watch this scene, outsiders gives different reaction, different emotions. Some of them tries to stay calm, some of them gives extra, or I don't know, normal reaction. They scream, But in this situation, elders sacrifice themselves willingly. So there is no killing someone. They have their own will and they decide to sacrifice themselves. And when we look at this tradition from their perspective, it's actually honoring for them. And I believe that we cannot say there is brainwashing, because to brainwash someone, there should be a time span. But Harga people, they gather only once in 90 years to celebrate this festival. So in this situation, can we judge them by saying it's so brutal? Do you remember this couple from England? When they started screaming, one of the members came to them and tried to calm them down.
You're fucked! Fuck! You're the fucking standing there watching! What the fuck is wrong with you?
And explains that it's a tradition that they have been practicing for thousands of years.
Fucked!
What you just saw is a long observed custom.
Custom!
Yes.
It's fucked!
Those two who jumped has just reached the end of their Harga life cycle, and you need to understand it as a great joy for them.
Joy?
Yes, and when it's my turn.
We can relate this custom with ourselves, also with our culture. When we look at the history, we can see that there were witch-burning tradition. When we look at the religions, we can see that killing a cow is brutal and sinful, but for other people it's normal. Or for example, for Muslim people, eating pork is disgusting and forbidden, but for other people it's normal. If you have any other example, you can just simply write under the comments. But I believe you understood what I mean. So while I was watching this scene, I was really interested in the emotions of outsiders. And I also asked myself, what would my reaction be if I were there? Well, I don't have a concrete answer, but probably I would try to stay calm and try to escape from that cult. And I'm also curious about your answers, so do not forget to write under the comments. And another question is, how can we say, or can we say, that a culture is bad, either bad or good? Is there a metric for it? We are the ones who were born into a culture, and consciously or subconsciously we practice, we live that culture. But these people, they've chosen to be in that culture. And even in the movie we can see that elders were explaining the tradition and everything about the cult to kids. So there are teachers who tells everything about Harga to kids, to new members of the cult. But the question is, if there are really bad things going on in this cult, why don't they just leave the cult and go another country to start a new life? Why the people, the elders who sacrifice themselves, just try to escape and live their life? In the end, they didn't have to do it, right? But they prefer to do it. The question is so simple, so obvious actually, because the main character, Dani, is also looking for the same thing. So the answer is family. The feeling of being belong to somewhere. These people, Hargas, are actually representing a huge family. If one of them feels happiness, the others also feel it. If one of them feels sadness, the others also feel it. And they don't just feel it, they live it. And this feeling of being belong to somewhere, having a family, is the main reason that made our character to join this cult, Hargas. She was accepted as a member to Hargas and she will probably stay there. This situation is also same for us. We were born to a culture and we are expected to live that culture. Otherwise we feel alien and we feel like we don't belong to that culture. We continue to try to find a place where we can feel safe. Until we find a place where we feel safe, we become depressed. And most of the time, willingly or unwillingly, we must practice the culture where we were raised in. Otherwise, we become other.